Welcome to another Foreign Film Friday. For this topic, I was interested in delving into the difference between the male and female gaze. There are two films that stuck out to me that are both French and about the L word.
Lesbian?
The other L word.
Lesbians?
It's love, Scott. I wasn't trying to trick you.
These two being Blue is the Warmest Color and Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Not knowing anything about these two besides they are lesbian films made me curious to compare the differences between how a director like Abdelatif Kechiche, male, and Celine Sciamma, female, depict feelings in both their films. I will definitely admit to my pre-existing biases going into both these projects that could have affected this investigation. For one, Portrait of a Lady on Fire is a very well-regarded film, which I knew going in. My hesitation with this film is it wouldn't live up to that insurmountable hype it was given. The opposite ended up being the case, as I fell in love with my first Sciamma flick, and it's worthy of all the praise it's garnered. Secondly, I knew going into Blue is the Warmest Color that the film was controversial and borderline pornographic, but adored by most critics and audiences at the time.
I thought that Shame had some scenes. This movie has some scenes also. And they're better.
I also knew it was directed by a man and the actresses weren't ecstatic working with him. With all that said, I still went into the film like every other film, wanting to love it. Finally, these films turned out to be very different projects than I would have imagined, as Blue is the Warmest Color spans over years, but I think the point still stands on what these films offer from a male and female lens. To explain, first we need to explore the idea of the male gaze, which can be defined as the act of depicting women and the world from a heterosexual perspective, often representing women as sexual objects for film. Female gaze is a little bit harder to define, but to simplify the term, it can refer to the perspective a female filmmaker brings to a film as to compare to a male. Blue is the Warmest Color's flaws are most apparent because of the male gaze, whereas Portrait of a Lady on Fire's greatest strengths are literal females just gazing at each other. This is important because it's not like both of these films are dealing with a heterosexual relationship. Both came in with differing perspectives to talk about homosexuality between two women. I bring this up because I remember when I was in elementary school being told the weird right, wrong, fun to watch joke and never fully understanding the intention because sword fighting with your penises sounds pretty cool to me, and I had no clue what sex even was as a young child. Even at a young age, males are presented with this idea that two girls doing the deed is performative for a male's eyes, which is such a backwards idea that most of us can admit, but it would be idiotic not to recognize this. This idea brings me to Blue is the Warmest Color first. The reason Blue is the Warmest Color is regarded as pornographic is because it feels like it's doing exactly that in its sex scenes. These scenes are gratuitous as they always feel like they have no goal to expand the story or these characters. There is one scene in particular that lasts nearly 10 minutes that could be completely removed and the film would not change at all. The film is 3 hours long, but the only parts that really drag are these pornographic scenes. In watching this film, I found myself enjoying certain moments, specifically the two co-leads that are fantastic.
Allez! Mais j'aime pas, putain, c'est toi! C'est toi, je l'aime! Je suis pas partout, je vais faire quoi? Je te dégage! Je t'en supplie! Dégage! Dégage!
But with the lingering idea always in my mind, why did he choose to have those scenes before? Clearly the director was going for something, but when the author of the book has this to say about your film, then something must have gone wrong. On top of that, I haven't even mentioned this character starts out being 15 in this film, or how snappy this director got when his lead actresses criticized his methods, which adds even more controversy to this film. Don't get me wrong, controversial ideas can be explored and effective for a story. Mysterious Skin is equally controversial, but uses this controversy to further the story and develop characters fully. The biggest flaw is that Blue is the Warmest Color exploits its actresses on a male-dominated set and was rewarded for doing so at Cannes and then male-dominated critics. I bring this up because it's a key reason why representation matters. If you like Blue is the Warmest Color, that is okay. But it is important to listen to voices of communities this film is about and why they are harmful. There are definitely issues in the film industry that need to be resolved, but I feel like Celine Sciamma is a perfect counterpoint to this film.
Do you think there's something like a female gaze, and do you think about it while filming?
Well, yes, I think there's a male gaze, and so there is a female gaze.
By definition, yeah.
But I think we should be talking about the male gaze mostly because we, as female, has been growing in that world. I've been raised by in a heterosexual world, and so my imaginary is heterosexual. I mean,
Portrait of a Lady on Fire succeeds in romantic expression by understanding how to show intimacy. It doesn't seem to dwell on playing to the male gaze at all, part of the reason this film was not received well in Sciamma's home country. The starkest of contrasts for these two films lies in how they present nudity. Portrait seems like a direct objection to films like Blue is the Warmest Color that present a female for the male gaze.
so this whole process of reinventing the muse figure and saying that there is no muse, there's only collaborators and women inspiring in a mutual way, that was also the perspective.
There are definitely multiple examples of comparisons, and obviously, again, the two directors approach things from a different perspective. But each of these scenes from Sciamma's work feels complementary to the rest of the film, which is quite the opposite for Blue. These scenes feel so organic and contrary to the idea of performative lesbianism, clear in each of these moments. Additionally, Portrait being an hour shorter still manages to capture you in a small amount of time. Each moment of this film feels so well thought out and essential for this relationship between these two women. Also, it sells the idea of loneliness and longing much more effective for me. Celine Sciamma's background is so important for this film that I feel like a male director would not be able to offer the same perspective that she's able to.
Thinking about representation is also thinking about how you're going to build new rides, how you're going to build new sensation, new emotions. So that's what I want the viewer to experiment. So we are proposing this new experience, and we should always be excited and thinking about what's new. So I want to create new images.
Again, why it's ever so important to have a wide variety of creatives in the filmmaking industry. Is this video saying you're wrong if you like Blue and you have to like Portrait? Not really. But it is important to listen to what people in those communities have to say. It's easy for me and plenty of others to dunk on everyone who elevated this film.
Very quick review of a movie that only you saw that was at Telluride, and I wanted to see because everybody's talking about it because it apparently has super hot lesbian sex, which I'm really not into, actually.
Why?
I don't really care. I know there's something, apparently there's something wrong with me.
But it definitely feels like Blue is the Warmest Color is a negative product of its time. The film industry definitely has a long way to go, but I feel like there has been good inclusive movements to elevate those voices that weren't amplified before. Also, for the giveaway for this film, leave a comment with your favorite LGBT film and why. I'll pick a winner sometime before next Friday. I'll probably announce the winner in the next Foreign Film Friday for the Criterion Blu-ray of Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Also, if you want to check out films about LGBT characters or filmmakers, we'll be talking about the history of LGBT films on our podcast this week with Lindsay and Margot. If you like this video, make sure to check the rest of the Foreign Film Friday series out, which will be linked at the end, and make sure to subscribe to see more of these in the future. Coming up next month is Japanimation July. Make sure to stick around if you're interested.